Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Y'all, I tell you, we're gonna get into another reaction. For those who don't know, this is a reaction. Funny at the Grandma Lanita reaction. Like, share, and subscribe. This is for educating, entertaining, criticism purposes, commenting purposes. Okay, and this video is just supposed to guide y'all in what's going on, what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now we ain't gonna agree, and we're not gonna, we ain't gonna agree, and we might not disagree with each other. But everybody's opinion is their opinion. Now, Charlie Kirk was like a very opinionated activist. He spoke his mind. He wasn't scared. So, what happened at Utah? Regardless of how we don't like the same person, don't like a person, but it's a way of doing things. Now, this young man right here that y'all looking at, watch right here. See, it was see people mind were all over the place. They thought it was gonna be a we shall overcome person. You know what I'm saying? Cause you're smart. But it wasn't. It was a Charlie Kirk person that find himself in a bad situation. We always talk about the decisions in a conflict situation, okay? So we're gonna get into this Utah public safety. They released a new photo, a person of interest. Oh yeah, he look like he real young, y'all. You'll be surprised who sent for these kids. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. And y'all like share the video, okay? Come on, my people. Come on now, y'all. Y'all gotta keep that counter up, okay?
Safety is now releasing additional photos of the person of interest. We saw those two other photos of this same individual earlier today in connection with the shooting of Charlie Kirk. They are coming in from the state here. It seems to be, looks like we're looking at some sort of a Twitter slideshow here that has multiple images. Just your reaction to seeing these photographs as this investigation continues to unfold?
My reaction to seeing them, or my reaction to the fact that they're coming from the state instead of the FBI?
We'll have at it. It didn't occur to me that they're coming from the state and not from the FBI. But what is the significance of that?
There's actually not a significance. I thought you might have been raising one, but it's very common in situations like these to have the state, locals, and federal partners work hand in glove with each other. Since this very day in 2001, the FBI and local governments have really ramped up what they call the Joint Terrorism Task Forces, which are essentially co-located groups of officers and agents from different federal agencies and state and local departments that, when a crisis like this happens, are already seamlessly integrated to help each other out. So it's not unusual to me that we're getting information from quite a few different sources of law enforcement. And I would really caution people not to read too much into the fact that the person in the picture is called a person of interest. That could mean it's the subject, in other words, the suspect who they think might have actually done the shooting. It could be a potential accomplice. It could be somebody who was simply in the building with the shooter and may have very valuable information. There's a reason they use a vague phrase like person of interest. We don't want to prejudge things. We don't want to get somebody doxxed. We don't want to get social media brigades falsely accusing people that they think they've identified. It's important to take everything that you're being told by the Utah Department of Public Safety at face value on this one.
I'm curious to get your take as a former about this on again, off again sort of cadence that the FBI has had yesterday and this evening. There was going to be an announcement. There were rapid developments, so to speak, that they were saying in the case. It looks as though now that is not the case at all. Is it fair to assume that that's because, in fact, there are no developments to share?
Yeah, that's entirely possible. The very nature of a criminal investigation, particularly a very high priority one like this, when the White House is watching with an acute eye, is such that any lead you get, however attenuated it may be, however unlikely that it'll pan out, you still have to run it down with alacrity and purpose. And so they may have gotten a lot of tips, and they thought that some of them may shed light on the situation they can share with the public, but apparently that has not happened. I would just add, as a sort of editorial matter, that is very much why the FBI before Patel did not regularly tweet about investigations or make promises about when the next press conference would be. They let the
Live tweeting of investigations is a novel idea, is what you're saying.
Yes. I don't think it's novel given the character of Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. It is very novel within the larger context of DOJ and FBI history and culture.
Can you just quickly walk us through how, from here, an investigation like this will continue to unfold? The Bureau says that it's got a weapon. They said they have a footprint, they have a palm print, they have these images, unreleased, at least earlier today they were saying, images of the suspect or person of interest as well. Where did they go from here?
So there's going to be things going on at a couple different levels in a couple different locations. The physical evidence that they've mentioned, the actual carbine that they believe was used in the assassination, the palm.
Okay, people, and also, I'm getting my condolences to his family. You know, I don't condonialize violence. So Charlie Kirk body arrives in Phoenix, y'all, on the Air Force Two. Uh, let's watch this.
Look at, and that is what we believe is going to happen here momentarily. So many people waiting for this moment, like we've said, so many people wanted to be here, right here, when Charlie Kirk arrived in Phoenix. And so we are waiting to see.
Just to backtrack a little bit, yesterday we got the notice that the second family, Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife, were going to travel to Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
And,
for those who didn't know, Charlie was already giving threats, but he told them that he wasn't afraid. He was going to get his message out there.
At Utah Valley University shortly after noon, and then we knew that they were going to fly to Phoenix, and this is where Turning Point USA is headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we've been awaiting this for some time, and earlier this morning, we started getting more information about timing, and they left Salt Lake City.
I think he wanted to be so much, just like he said. I think he wanted it to be so much like Trump, but he was too outspoken, and then sometimes he, allegedly,
Interesting, the Vice President
nothing.
J.D. Vance actually posted on X about 20 hours ago talking about the origin of his friendship with Charlie Kirk, and I'll read a little bit about that as we await the casket to be brought out of Air Force Two. But Vice President wrote a while ago, probably in 2017, I appeared on Tucker Carlson's show to talk about God knows what. Afterward, a name I barely knew sent me a DM on Twitter and told me I did a great job. It was Charlie Kirk, and that moment of kindness began a friendship that lasted until today.
This was Trump, good friend. He became good friend with Trump. Very good friend with Trump. Yeah. He even tried to miss his messages like Trump. But he's not Trump.
Some sort of lift. And so this is the first time we're seeing that casket in the body of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated yesterday, 31 years old. Leaves behind a wife, Erica, who is a former Miss Arizona, and two young kids.
Yeah, and that's have been one of the most difficult things to see.
Yeah, all on top of the building, yeah.
The images of the family together, some of the images that we've seen over the last day of one of his young children running up to him as he's being interviewed, and how much he loved and very clearly enjoyed having his family around him.
You were talking about the personal
This is
relationship
sad.
he had been formed with Vance, and one of the things that kind of stood out was at one point, remember, Kirk as well as Vance, both kind of personally and politically time, and really Kirk being the driving force for getting President Donald Trump reelected.
Yeah, and Donald Trump Jr. also very active, obviously, on X, and talking about his reaction to all of this, talking a bit about his friend again, saying he wasn't just a friend, he was like a little brother to me and to millions of people around the world, a true inspiration, one of the most courageous, principled men I've ever known, and he lived everything.
And people on the other side of the aisle speaking out against the political violence, saying there is no place in America for that political violence for something like this to happen. Unfortunately,
like I said, we've seen motorcycles preparing and Secret Service still stationed on the road,
That's his
watching
casket,
everything
yeah.
that is taking place very, very carefully. And I do want to describe to you kind of the tone that is taking place here. Obviously, so many people wanted to see Air Force Two. They had their phones out and they were recording, and some of them still are. But you can feel that somberness and that sadness and that emotion here as all of this takes place, as people were seeing that casket taken out of Air Force Two and Charlie Kirk arriving back here in Arizona.
And Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, I was just checking her social media accounts, and she has been posting Bible verses within the last day or two. Certainly their faith was a core component of their relationship, very strong in their faith. One